Hello, everyone. It's Ukrainian Toronto Television, and today is somewhat unusual episode of our podcast. Unusual because we will talk news. We'll talk about news, and the news are American politicians are trying to kill a lot of Ukrainians. But don't be upset. Don't be upset because Ukrainians are not alone in that. American politicians are also trying to kill Americans, instigating civil war in the United States. And also, there are elections, which will probably decide the fate of humanity. So, yeah, that's our news for today.
That's a to-do list. That's a to-do list. Yeah.
That's a to-do list. Melania, how do you feel? How's your mood today? How's news for you?
It's just another day, really. It's like crisis to crisis. We're literally playing like pinball, pinning off the whole mess of crap that this is. I mean, some things I'm so tired of saying the same things over and over. Like it should be obvious at this point what everybody should be doing, and yet somehow they managed to screw things up. So yeah. Whatever. At this point, nuclear winter. I don't know.
We rely a lot on American politics, American government, and what the country is doing. And obviously, it a little bit frustrates us when American politicians, the top American politicians, don't know what's going on. And we are here trying to... So here's Mike Johnson, that border deal where Republicans... told that they won't vote for Ukrainian aid without border deal, without the without securing the American-Mexican border, essentially. And they started negotiations months ago, and now Republicans are trying to kill it. Trump is trying to kill it, and Mike Johnson issued a statement today saying that if what's leaking from there, right? If what he knows about this border deal is true, then it's dead on arrival. It's not only that it's dead on arrival part, which frustrates me.
I like the word if.
Yeah. Why doesn't he know what's in there? He's like the House, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he doesn't know.
Third in line in case something happens. Yeah, right. So most important person, but if what I know is true.
If that or that probably most important decision and in
world
decades,
security, if you will. But
who cares what's going on there?
And then it's not whatever.
Yeah, and so since every expert we know from the United States is actually even more clueless than Mike Johnson, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and we desperately tried to get some insights and understanding of what's going on there. We asked our very special expert, our guest from one of the first podcasts on Ukrainian Toronto Television, PhD in shitposting, and the man of many valors, and actually American volunteer in Ukraine, Spaghetti Kozak. Welcome, James. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Nice to talk with you guys again.
How do you feel about the state of American politics today?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So based on my many years of research and experience, including experience in D.C. and lobbying Congress last year, in fact, I can say with a high degree of confidence that I have no idea what the fuck is going on right now. People have lost their goddamn minds. That's pretty much all I can say at the moment. I have been following this, obviously. Obviously, we're all looking at this because it affects aid to Ukraine. And it's kind of a critical time right now because of mainly the supply of artillery ammunition. You need a lot of shells. You need a lot of rockets. Also air defense munitions, particularly the Patriot. As we've seen, the Patriot, when it's properly supplied, can basically devastate the Russian hypersonic Kinjals and other ballistic missiles like that. And obviously, we want that supply to continue. What has happened in this case, though, and I could say I can't put my finger on when it happened, but I want to say sometime middle of last year, we had a situation where the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, which arguably is the Republican Party, I'm not saying there's not a significant amount of anti-MAGA Republicans, and I do think that's growing. I talk to Republicans, I talk to conservatives who are basically seeing that as a cult. They respect the Constitution, they believe in the Republic. But right now, MAGA is sort of charting the course for the party. They're sort of at the helm, and especially since now it's an election year. And I would say sometime last year, probably with the help of some Russian disinformation networks, what they were able to do is turn the Ukraine conflict into a culture war thing. Once they can turn any issue into a culture war thing, MAGA will line up behind whatever position they want to say. So basically, what they manage to do is that if you support Ukraine, it means you're the sheep, you're the lib cuck, you're the soy jack drawing with the colored hair, and you're crying, and they're like the Giga Chad strong MS Paint meme, right? And they spread that message. And now lots of people, I think there's a lot of Trump supporters. I actually talked to Trump supporters who were supportive of Ukraine. These are typically people who are older. They were people who often worked with our military. They're not willing to go all the way to Donald Trump's "fuck America" style of politics. And but what I think happened in some of these cases is that once they turn it into a culture war thing, once they put Ukraine along with the gender stuff and the feminism and all these other, the rogues gallery of monsters that the right often worries about in the U.S., what happened was they made it easy to basically start a movement, especially among the MAGA wing in Congress, to delegitimize Ukraine aid, to make it seem like this is some kind of horrible burden on the U.S. taxpayer, to ignore the fact that this aid is actually helping Americans with jobs, especially Americans in red states. It's providing jobs, it's putting money into the US economy, but they're able to basically negate all that. And what's very funny actually is that it looks like they picked up some of the memes that our radical left was using earlier, which is, why don't we have free college when we're giving money to Ukraine? Or why do we have homeless people when we're giving money to Ukraine? Well, you had those homeless people before, and what country did you blame then, right?
Yeah, that is, as soon as your issue is going into this kind of territory, it doesn't matter what reality is, and it doesn't make sense to even argue with that anymore, because these people don't care about reality. But what scares here is the Congress a lost cause? We are not getting this aid. Is Mike Johnson is full Trump mode and just doesn't care about anything and will let everything burn rather than even save his chair in the next elections?
I'm not going to call it dead yet. I do see signs that they are trying to work something out. I feel that it caused a delay, which of course has cost Ukrainian lives. I think it's extremely cowardly. I think that the reputation of the U.S., even if they turn this around, let's say next month, and they just give Ukraine everything it needs, and it's a stunning victory, the message is already sent. The message that the U.S. has sent, I would say even in the beginning of this war, with the way they sort of drip-fed supplies into the country, the way they denied the Ukrainians' requests for things like ATACMS, and they were slow on HIMARS and Patriot and things like that. I would say that the damage has already been done to our reputation. And I will point out, by the way, just to be fair, in 2022, a lot of that drip feeding of supplies and the denial of certain weapons and the restrictions placed on their use, a lot of that falls squarely on Biden. But right now, what we are dealing with is a Trump MAGA thing. Probably you've seen recently the claims that Trump is actually calling congressmen and telling them, don't make any deal on the border. He basically wants the border to be a crisis because he campaigns on that.
It's not even a matter of this stupid false equivalency. This is I honestly, at this point, I think it's useless even to debate the fact that
Absolutely,
it's
no,
not
it
either
doesn't make
or.
sense.
This is stupid. It's just this amazing thing that American politics have bred, which is literally, if the rival party does something that we actually want, we are not going to support it purely because they're the rival party, which I find amazing. This is literally like, I mean, it happens often, but like, I've been, this is speculation, obviously, and I'm not, like, I guess I'm not that deep in, American politics, like, not being an American, but like, I don't remember for the last like years and years and end when the Democrat Party would be so vocal about the fact that yes, in fact, we do have a crisis on the border, and yes, we support fixing it. It's always been, like the Republican thing, and yet now they're like, yeah, let's do it, and it just, and it doesn't work anyway. So it's not a matter of agreeing on things anymore, which I find horrifying. It's not about being on the same page about stuff. It's about literally tug of war between thing that seems like a bunch of children, I guess. I don't know. And then there's Trump, who, by the way, I should just like, I'm going to be an asshole about it. I guess the only person who hates him the most is his makeup artist, because the video yesterday, I mean, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
that borders on, I don't know the correct term for that, orange face, I don't know.
It's
just
not orange
weird.
anymore. It's not orange anymore.
Yeah, what
It
is
looked
that?
like his
Color of
face
your-
was melting. It looks like somebody
Yes.
opened the Ark of the Covenant in front of him, and he didn't listen to Indiana Jones, and his face started to liquefy.
literally. And then, so
yeah, it was
this
wet.
guy,
It was literally wet. Yeah.
yeah, it was wet and dripping and weird, and he was saying all this crazy stuff, and then he's literally blackmailing. He's blackmailing his own party into not doing a thing that they vouched for they would do, and everything seems like fine? Question mark. Like literally, like this is how funny this shit has become. We have a Republican, almost, hopefully not, but like presidential nominee discouraging the Republican Party from fixing an illegal immigrants problem. This is, I shit you not, I couldn't come up with a joke like that a couple of years ago.
Where the Texas governor, Mr. Abbott, is already denouncing the federal authority, the constitutional, the ruling of the Supreme Court, yeah. So, James, my last question to you: do you think Americans want civil war? Does it feel like civil war-ish?
Well, I think
over
it's just one side that does, or at least they think they do. But the reality is that many of these people are very soft, and they don't understand what civil war. They don't know what war implies. Yeah, if anything, and you could see this from my Twitter feed, for example, and some of my YouTube comments. The one thing the war that I've been involved in has taught me is that most people just have no idea what war is. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. And I even think we have a lot of people in America who are veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan. I think some of these guys may have forgot, or maybe they didn't fully understand it because we, of course, were sort of an invading military and an occupying military, and our military was top notch. So you could go there on a tour, but you didn't have the same stake in things as the Afghan who has to live there next to Taliban territory or something, right? So we've been hearing people braying about civil war in the U.S. for a long time. We have a lot of people in the U.S., mostly far right, but some far left, who have the idea that somehow they can win some sort of insurgency against the U.S. government. These people drive me up the wall with their historical comparisons, because pretty much every time they tell me that they absolutely do not understand insurgency. That's one thing. I was joking earlier about being your political expert and everything, but this is something I've spent a lot of time researching: is insurgency and terrorism and that kind of thing. It really comes in handy, by the way, nowadays in my current job. But the point is that there is this idea that a lot of Americans like to fantasize about being a rebel. This is kind of a different comparison, but if you're familiar with the classic movie Red Dawn, of course, is about a Soviet, Cuban, Nicaraguan invasion of the U.S. and it's fought by partisans, right? And now what we have is a sort of fantasy of the government or occupiers, and we can, form a little partisan band and go into the mountains and fight them. And this idea has been around for a very long time in American history.
I'm
for
sorry,
many
let me
decades.
interrupt you, but have they seen the map of the United States? Like,
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's okay, screw the tactics and let's say you have like a bunch of weapons and a few good men and a horse and whatever and a shoe. Have you seen what kind of territory you would have to take over with insurgency?
And what kind of military you would have to fight.
So this is the kind of thing.
What the fuck is this theory? Like,
this is the thing
we are 1,500 insurgents from I don't know whatever state, and I put you 1,500 good men, infantrymen, prepared against one F-35. One.
No, not even F-35.
No,
the Reaper, the drone.
The drone. Anything, literally anything that flies and goes brrr, like anything. Like really.
Well,
insurgency.
This is the thing. This is my pet peeve. Literally every time I see people saying this online, they'll say something very smug like, "Oh, so you think a band of rebels armed with just small arms couldn't take on a military superpower? Ever hear of Afghanistan?" And then that's when like the air horns are supposed to go off and they're like, "Oh damn, 20 years Afghanistan and we lost and we went home." And it's like, guys, first let's start with a very, very important difference here. You want to have an insurgency in the United States, right? The U.S. was fighting a counterinsurgency campaign in Afghanistan, where at one point they had to basically fly in every bullet that they were going to use. The U.S. military does not have to do that in the U.S. because they are home. Their soldiers are from here. They live here. They speak the language. They know the culture. We are manufacturing the ammunition here in America, right?
And you're literally going to make an insurgency somewhere near a military base because that is everywhere in the United States. Like, where is a place where you're like, let's find a place where there's no military so we can, set up camp? Excuse me, there isn't one.
Honestly, also, Russians won't be able to send you tanks, right? There is no Russian Voentorg in Mexico. It's not how it happens.
Right. Well, that's one thing these people don't understand is like some of these guys, they get so into the LARP that they will spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on souped up custom AR-15 rifles, and they'll get the fast helmet and maybe even some night vision, and they want to dress like operators because they have this idea that if I dress like a Delta operator or U.S. Army Special Forces or Navy SEAL, if I get that equipment, I will be as lethal as them. It's like no. You got to understand the reason those guys are so lethal, not to degrade their proven skill and training and everything, but the reason those guys are so super lethal is because of all the things that you're not looking at. That massive logistical, intel, ISR, all this stuff that goes into military operations.
No, it's like literally it's a generation of Comic-Con. Like, if I'm a Rooter Run, I can storm Area 51. Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, if I dress like Special Ops, I am Special Ops. No.
Right. It's all cosplay. And what they don't understand is that, just to give you one example, like in my previous team, when we were prepared, we were going to go somewhere in Bakhmut, and my team leader was saying, we're going to get in some firefights in the forest, so make sure you have 10 mags at the ready. That means not 8 on you and then more in the rucksack, right? That means 10 at the ready, so 1 in the weapon, and then somewhere either on the belt, basically the belt, the vest, a combination of both. 9 more mags, and that's just at the ready. That's not including everything we'd have to bring in there, right? And there's a reason for this, because in a firefight, ammo is time, right? And you will go through magazines very quickly. Ask anybody who's been in a firefight, pretty much in any war, but especially this one. Ask them, and there's guys that said, like, we took 12 mags into this firefight, and we were out, or we were almost out. And it does not take long, just because of the realities of using firearms and the realities of the tactics involved and stuff like that, you will run out of ammo very quickly. Ammo is also heavy. So if your merry little band of American freedom fighters decides to stop talking online and actually step up to the plate and kick off their little revolution or boogaloo, civil war, whatever, basically they're going to have a massive logistical problem, because if you stored all the ammo on your ranch or whatever, okay, well then you're bound to that ranch. If you want to try to carry your ammo around, now you're probably going to be bound to vehicles or pack animals or something. So now you're going to move slowly and you're going to be more conspicuous. Probably the smartest thing you could do is plan out your general area of operations in very remote areas and set up caches in those areas that you could go, in between to resupply. But that, again, you don't have the logistical tail. If you look in...
no, but if you set up these caches in remote territories, then what are you taking over? There isn't an American government there to overthrow.
That's the other problem, right? So like what you could do, your best chance of survival is basically get out in an area so remote. And there was a guy who did this in the 90s. He's a terrorist named Eric Rudolph, and he went into the Appalachians. And it took years to catch this guy. And so if you go in an area that's so remote and you're not a huge priority for the government, right? They're just going to kind of cordon off the area.
You could overthrow
I just occupied 300,000
some national park.
Yeah, I just occupied 300,000 acres of a desert that isn't currently under my control.
Right. And now I look more like an Afghani fighter, right?
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, maybe now that we have technology that they didn't have during Eric Rudolph's time, maybe they won't comb the whole area with drones. Because here's one thing, though. If they decide to send a UCAV after you, an armed drone, right? And you went out to a really remote place, guess what? They don't have to worry about collateral damage now, so they can hit you with the full force of whatever they want to use, right? If you're in an area, let's say you're in an area where you might drive around a bit in a small town, there might be collateral damage. Well, guess what? They have a Predator missile that basically cuts you up with knives and does virtually no collateral damage, right?
No, but so even what's the point of your insurgency if you took over a piece of land where there's no people and there's just like one lizard being very confused?
The thing you said
am
about,
I prime minister now? What is this?
Yeah. If the thing you said about them comparing themselves to Afghani fighters, to, I don't know, Syrian insurgency, Iraqi, whatever. The point is, those people in Afghanistan and all those places, they haven't seen in their life anything good, to be honest. Like, most of them are really desperate, and those people haven't seen light in their lives, and most of the things they've seen is this AK-47 and constant death and poor conditions of their living. Everything's bad over there. In the United States, all those guys are Kyle Rittenhouses who start crying as soon as they face reality. And
so I'm gonna make a horrible joke now. We went to overthrow the American government, but one of our guys was lactose intolerant, so we're fucked.
Yeah. It takes
honestly though,
you should be ready to die in this, and I'm not sure you guys are.
That's a very good point, because I could literally go on this forever. We could just make this the Insurgency podcast if you want, but that is a major problem I have with a lot of these Civil War guys and the Boogaloo guys and everything. Because you look at how much money they spend on equipment, you look at what they're driving, and then you can look at their lifestyle, right? Like, these are guys who go to the church barbecue on Sunday, they watch the game on their big screen TV, they rant about Civil War on social media. So guess what? They're on the grid, right? And they do this on a weekly basis, but they want to convince you that sometime, we don't know when, but something's going to kick it off. And that's when they're going to call up their buddies and they're going to go off into the woods and they're going to become an insurgent cell. No, that is not fucking happening. What I want to say to most of these guys is, if you think you can do it, just kick it off. Stop cock teasing all of us and raid a police station or something, because honestly, that's about as good as any of these guys are ever going to get, right? They could
I will stop you right there. It's not as
I just want to say I'm not
we don't want you to be arrested.
I'm not, I should say that I am not saying that this is a good thing, but what I'm saying is, stop wasting everybody's fucking time with your LARPing and talking about how you're going to do a civil war. because here's the thing. There have been guys, there's been these so-called Boogaloo boys, and there have been various militias who have actually tried to kick it off, right? If we just look at the Boogaloo boys, I think there's like a handful of guys, usually on an individual basis. They have, I think one of them may have shot a cop, but generally, like the endings of these guys are basically shot dead by police, local police, or surrendered and gave up, right? So basically, the whole
We do have a precedent, though, right? The things got kicked off. They went to Capitol Hill, and they all got arrested, and
they
are now
were
in
so
jail.
surprised that they were arrested. They were
Yeah.
so surprised that something happened to them. They were like, "Why?
Well,
why
you have to remember that those are
angry with me?
people. A lot of those people, the reason they're surprised is because they're extremely entitled, and they believe that police and the use of police force is something that is just for ethnic minorities that they don't like. It's not
Sure.
supposed to be used on them. They are true Americans, right, and true God-fearing Christians. So
My God,
that is-
I love the fact we're talking about this because you're like, preach. Like, this is so true. They think the police is like there to protect them from ethnic minorities. And if you're like a white Christian American with the AR and the, wife beater, then, how dare they even look in my general direction? I'm the, we the people.
They forgot one thing, that people in capital are actually even more privileged than them.
yeah. Well, I just want to.
There's this thing they're bitching about, the hierarchies. So they're like, you're not on the top of it.
Yeah.
You should just acknowledge it.
I just want to button up one point before addressing what Melania said there. Getting back to the Boogaloo thing, like I said, some of them have actually stepped up and tried using force against the government, in this case, usually local police, and they're not doing too well. The score is very lopsided on the government side right now. The
government still stands.
Right. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm going to be generous to them and say, okay, maybe you weren't really ready. Maybe you'll be doing a lot better and be much more effective when you're facing the full weight of the U.S. military. I'm sure that you can't handle the cops, but you can handle the 82nd Airborne Division, sure. But I just wanted to address what Melania kind of alluded to there, because I will say this, is that I wish I could pronounce this guy's name right. It's like Frank Wilhoit or something. But he said the most brilliant thing, and oddly enough, this quote comes from a blog's comment section. People tell you don't look at the comments, but one of the greatest pieces of political wisdom in American history, I think, was said in a blog comment. And it's really just a blog comment. It was a long one, but the quote was this. He says, basically, modern conservatism consists of one simple proposition. There should be a small in-group which the law protects but does not bind, and a large out-group which the law binds but does not protect. If you apply that to pretty much anything the MAGA people say or anything Trump says, you will learn very quickly that it is literally that. If they want to use law enforcement to suppress other people, the people they don't like, right? But if they break a law and law enforcement comes after them, now it's the deep state. Now it's out of control. Now they're the jackbooted thugs, right? And you will see this happen in many, many historical cases, looking at the way the right and a lot of their media will treat law enforcement, right? Because we have, during the BLM stuff, and actually in every case when there's been a major media case or protest movement over some kind of police brutality, you'll see that the conservatives pretty much line up behind the cops. They have the thin blue line flag now, and they will say, back the blue, and you should have complied. If you just comply with the officer, nothing bad will happen to you, right? And then suddenly you have January 6th, and of course, many of them can't decide if those were a bunch of gay, anti-fag, communist infiltrators, or if it was the FBI, or if they were true patriots, or kind of all those things at the same time to some of these people. But when it comes to the people who are arrested, like Trump said, this is the deep state and law enforcement out of control, persecuting good conservative Christian patriots, and they will do this every time. It is simply the law exists to serve us and keep down people we don't like. And of course, we see the same thing with Russia every time they don't get their way. They will say, for example, the Western countries talk about free speech, but they censor our RT media or something. Well, you censor people for tweets. Like, you censor people for posting historical facts about the Second World War. and the collaboration between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, and you're going to lecture the UK or the US on freedom of speech. Like, I'm sorry, there is no absolute freedom of speech. Sorry, Elon, there isn't, right? But you have way more freedom of speech in the United States than you will ever have in Russia, right? So it's basically, it's that same mentality. We see this again. It's the Russian mentality sort of being exported to the U.S. And part of that is basically the law should serve us and keep down the people we don't like, and vice versa. You know, the law should.
Just like the founding father meant it to be, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Thank you very much. Subscribe to our channel, and probably we'll do more enlightening stuff here. If you're going, like, if your country is going towards dictatorships, civil wars, all of that stuff, you probably want to know, to hear an advice and a thought or two from people who actually lived through something, through wars and through dictatorships, and actually had experience overthrowing them. So
spoilers, it's not good.
Call us at 0800 I wanna die, and we're gonna just inform you on every risks or possibilities.
This is a good idea. We need to branch out and get people who have lived in Syria or under different dictatorships in Latin America, for example, and just in like a hotline, right? And you're like, oh, I think this dictator was cool. Was he? And then someone from that country is like, no, he wasn't actually.
No. You don't understand. That's wrong dictatorship. It was the wrong guy.
I would have done it
wrong.
I would have pressed the good socialism button, and I would press. I pressed the make communism work button. But Lenin and Stalin.
Did their dictator? Wait. Did Hugo Chavez had a melting brown face? No, he didn't.
Yeah, this is the problem. This is like
that was his problem.
Yeah, did he play golf? No. Yeah,
no.
There you go. Anyway, guys.
This one has the huge ass. Okay, go ahead.
We're going somewhere crazy. Anyway, guys, please subscribe to this channel, like and share this video, and subscribe for more insanity like this. We'll see you next week.